So now we will open up the floor for questions. Thank you to Wes, Susana, and Sarad for your thoughtful and thought-provoking conversations. Your hand here. There should be someone coming to you with the microphone. Thank you.
Well, I commend y'all for the job that y'all have done to help build up our young Black men. But my thing is, as a mother of young women and being a teenage mother, what programs do we have, or what type of resource could we have to be able to mentor to our young women and to actually keep them from being pregnant? Even though I understand it, I would like to know, what did you do, Miss Susana Martinez? What did you do? What was your type of program? What did y'all do to prevent pregnancy?
So in terms of pregnancy prevention, the interesting thing was that we didn't really focus too much on the sexual health, biology, public health kind of lessons. It was really lessons on the importance of valuing self and the importance of healthy relationships, and understanding how that is really at the core of how females might want to or have relationships with males, and whether or not their sexuality is really something that they are valuing as a part of themselves. So it's, yes, of course, there's always going to be some safe sexual health practices that we're going to promote and that we're going to really encourage. And we do it very much from that health perspective of keeping yourself healthy, taking care of yourself, going to the doctor, things like that. But it really does come down to promoting that sense of self-worth, which you're right, there are not that many programs that target specifically females. I know there are some programs that are growing now. We have informally a few activities at the youth center that we do. They usually surround dance, other kinds of performance. That's usually how we draw a lot of our young ladies in. And then once we have them, we use that opportunity to really engage them in these different conversations, specifically around healthy relationships. Because second to pregnancy rates, what we do see is a lot of violence within our young couples, and really trying to try and combat that as early as we can by increasing sort of this concept of healthy relationships.
Already pregnant. Oh. What do y'all have in place for the teenagers that come to y'all that are already, that's young, that have already had babies? What do y'all do for that?
Oh, so we have parenting classes. We offer a lot of support to our young parents. We actually offer housing, safe housing for some of our young parents, because a lot of times the family members may not be equipped to take on, a daughter with now grandchildren or other family members. So we try and get them safe and stable first. A lot of those programs we offer internally within the organization, or we refer out. We have a pretty broad network. So we really try and get them into a stable home environment. And then it's parenting classes. We really try and support them as much as possible so that they can be healthy parents. And part of that means taking care of themselves. So making sure that we help them find, a good daycare system or someone to watch their child so that they can still work towards their education and employment goals, and knowing that eventually that's going to enable them to be a good parent to their child. So we really do wrap a lot of services around our young parents. And I will say that we engage a lot of our young fathers as well, whether or not they are actually in a partner relationship with the mother. As long as it's a healthy relationship, we try to engage them as well. But we really feel that it's about getting our young parents in a place where they know that their children are stable and cared for, so that they can still work towards their goals, which will eventually serve their children better.
Do y'all also offer incentives to the children, to the youth, to even?
Yeah, we often offer, gift cards, things like that for them to participate. A lot of our activities we offer free childcare, so that they can bring, so that will not be a barrier to them being able to participate in any of our programs. And yes, we definitely use incentives.
Okay, and I just got one more question. What do y'all have for the LGBT community as the Black man? Because he will have to deal with a lot of problems being a gay man and being Black. So what do y'all men have in the place for the men to be able to be safe and honorable and understanding the structure that it is to be a man, but also to be who he is too?
Is that a question for the gentleman? So a little bit that's about the demography that I didn't go deep into is that our predominant population is women in the community. Not only that, the predominant population of youth is young women in the community. And I think that our staff has been reflective of that. I'm certainly probably, I think we got one male now. We got another male, but he back there. Chris is back there. But I've been, and the support of people in the community who have been the supportive factors for these young women have many times been women. Also been Miss Rosia. I think you could raise a good point about, LGBTQ community. I think that the way we don't need to operate as if it doesn't exist, right? Talk about colorblind and color brave. I think that we do need to make sure that we are very much so inclusive in all that we do, and I've seen it. I mean, I know there are young people in our community that struggle with gender identity, and we have to make sure that nothing we do makes them feel left out, excluded, and that everything that we do is inclusive and makes it a safe environment for them to participate. So in that respect, I think that is our approach to the work.
Specifically for us, we have spoken a great deal about how no matter who you are, what you like, whatever the case may be, there's a brotherhood and a commonality amongst us all. So regardless of what your brother may like to do, what kind of sports he may like, what's his sexual orientation, those things are not as important as the fact that this is my brother and I have to have his back. So once an individual knows that you are my brother, I have your back regardless of what you like, whatever the case may be, you are my brother. And when we build that sense of brotherhood and cohesiveness, I think we see that translate across the board with the boys. And that's one of the things that we really focus on. You have to have your brother's back regardless. Having your brother's back means that you don't make fun of him or you don't do, little childish things. You have his back. And that's what we preach. That's another question.
We can take one more question.
So I appreciate the work that you're doing. Something occurs to me often about these programs that come in doing great work. And it's that oftentimes they're doing great work despite the kind of structural institutions and problems that are happening, right? And so they can kind of come and go, but that structural stuff is still there. So I'm wondering, from your standpoints, how do you kind of deal with that? Do you take what you're doing to the institutions? Are you trying to expand what you're doing, or just kind of promote a model that other people can look at and bring to the population?
I'd love to tackle that one first, if y'all don't mind. So, I call them systems, institutions, and agencies, right? And systems, institutions, and agencies create policy. And policy can affect outcomes for the better or for the worse. And you're not going to be able to have any population level change unless you have these systems, institutions, and agencies in the room and at the table when you're trying to create policy change. So therefore, I think Leon talked about it earlier, was the difficult work of getting these system leaders to come together and to convene them such that you can work on these population level issues. So that's a big part of our work. I mean, we do a lot of meetings and stuff, but we try to make them very focused and so such that they produce population level change with regards to policy level change. So if you're not working in that space, then I think you're right. It's like you just pouring more money down the drain. Programs come and go. But if you're not changing things from a capacity level that's going to be long-term extensions of the work that will outlast you or maybe even your initiative, then you're really wasting time and money.
If you don't mind. And I think that's really important in terms of really looking at and targeting what the policies are. Obviously, a huge part of our work is also advocacy and really encouraging youth voice to be a part of that advocacy. So to give you an example, in DC, we have had many years a huge challenge regarding transportation. There is no public school bus system. All of our young people would have to ride the city bus or take the city metro, which costs a lot of money every day. And even if you got the student discount, that was $30 a month. There were a lot of families that couldn't afford $30 a month for their children to be able to go to school. So that was something that we were loud, we were broken records. We constantly went back and forth to the city government to try and petition that they allow our children to ride free. And that was a policy that we felt, you know what, we can tackle, you know, maybe something more specific regarding school policy, but if we can at least just get our kids to all have access to the transportation they need to get to where they're supposed to, that could have a huge impact. And thankfully that actually just passed first. Last year they did on buses. Kids were able to start riding free on buses. And then this year they're able to ride metro as well. And we're really looking forward to seeing what some of the long-term data shows in terms of improved attendance rates and whatnot. And just getting behind whatever policies can really last and outlive, you're right, whatever programs we might be having, but knowing that those are things that have a great impact is always a key part of our work as well.
Well said. For me, I think it's twofold. So on the front end is teaching our young men about the policies in place and making sure that you understand what will happen if you choose to do X, Y, or Z. So you have to teach our young men to think critically and be proactive opposed to being reactive, because if you understand the policies, then you know how to navigate the waters in order to make smarter decisions. On the other side, I just chose to try to become a policy maker, because there's no point. And for me, I mean, this is one of the main reasons why I decided to run for council is there's no reason, and it's kind of insane to continuously go and beg these individuals to do X, Y, and Z for people who they may or may not represent or understand what these young people are going through. And that is the entire reason, once again, why we chose to run for council. So hopefully, November goes well. Thank God June went well. But hopefully in January, we'll be on council and we'll be in a position to help change the policy and or amend it in the cases in which need be. With also that position comes an understanding of what needs to be changed. And then there's a little more political clout to go statewide and speak to our statewide or General Assembly or our statewide legislators and talk to them about why this policy needs to be implemented. And that's something that I think we all can do. I feel like we too often want to go and speak to individuals about making change, opposed to us going and saying that I will be the change. Now, that change is different for everyone. Everybody plays their own role. But once again, why would we continue to ask people to do things for us when they really don't know how? We're the ones on the battlefield, so let's get it done.
I think that's our last question because we're going to transition, but I think they'll be available after. Is that right? For a few minutes. So they'll be available after for any further questions. But Wes, Susana, Sarad, thank you for your work that you do.
Oh, sorry.
And we're going to give the mic over because I think we want to transition for time's sake, right? But they'll be available for some conversations after this. So young man, if you don't mind, if there was a question for Wes or Sarad, please feel free to connect with them, okay? But join me in thanking our panel, and thank you as well, audience, for your participation as well. Thank you.